there, this is Ian Nethercott with the famous AutoHub show, and this show today is not a live show despite what's behind me. It is a recorded show. And today I have the pleasure of Ryan Quinlan, is that correct? I think
That's right. You got it.
and Ryan is talking about technology in auto, I believe, but I'll let Ryan talk about why auto first of all, and then maybe a little bit about, what's he doing now, and then we can go from there. Go ahead, Ryan.
Sounds good. So, why auto? That's a great question. So, I've always been a car guy. I really, love cars. Always wanted a new car. And then I lived for a little while in overseas in Dubai and didn't know how long I was going to be there. Found a different way to own a car. They had a model over there that was kind of interesting at the time that was more like a subscription. So I got into that. Thought it was great. Eventually, when I moved back to the States, I started. I was in a job, and somebody reached out to me and talked about Flexcar. And the way they introduced it was a different way to own a car, a different way to get into a lease. It was more of a short-term, month-to-month lease, and it resonated with what had happened to me or what I had experienced in Dubai. And then they started talking about what you just said about how the technology allows for a better experience in the car. It's more of a connected car. So it's almost like you can own a Camry, but have a Tesla type experience. So all those things for me started really attracting me to Flexcar. And then I joined the company and have been here almost 3 years now and just have loved it. I feel like we're revolutionizing car ownership and doing that through a better experience in the car and doing it with a better way to own a car. So you're not necessarily locked in to all the problems of ownership and you get to experience the benefits, the things you want out of having a car. So that's what it's about.
So obviously, having worked in retail myself and having obviously talked to people many times about cash purchases and finance and lease, and I know there's a move back towards leasing just because of affordability. I have been exposed a little bit. I know there were some manufacturers, I think Porsche is one of them, if memory serves me, that was playing around with this sort of flexible lease where people can like switch cars and do like random stuff like that. And I know there was some talk back a couple of years ago, if I remember. And we are doing a show on Monday about sort of the evolution of car ownership, I guess you could say. There's also been talk about fractional ownership and different things recently out there in the market space. So what does that mean to a customer who says, "Hey, I want the ownership. I mean, I want the use of a car, but maybe not the ownership of it, or I want to change the way I own it based on strictly affordability." Like, what does that mean for them?
Yeah, so with Flexcar, what it is, like I mentioned, we're the world's first month-to-month car lease, and what it means to you as a customer, and I think that's what your question is about, is what do you experience with the car? So when you're going to get a car, I want to be able to drive the car. I want to be able to use it for commuting. I want to drive to Maine or whatever with it. But I need the transportation, but also want the newest features. I want to love that car that I'm in, feel happy when I'm driving it. And the traditional ownership for the last 100 years locks you into a car. As the car is depreciating, you're losing the value that you put into it. Then on top of it, you're having to pay for maintenance, you're having to pay for insurance, the roadside assistance if anything goes wrong. We cover all of that. So we allow you to get into whatever car you want, stay in that car until you are ready for another one. So you might want a Jeep in the summer, and then in the winter, you might want to switch to an F-150. That's fine for us. We love that. You come in for 6 months into one car, switch into another one for 3 months. That's totally fine. Switch back into a sedan, a new Mercedes for the summer next time. If you want to try out an EV for 3 to 6 months or for a year, that's great with us too. And then if you decide I really love this specific car, I'm going to stay in this for the next 2 years, that's great for us. So Flexcar is about meeting you where you want to own a car. So I want my experience to be flexible. I don't want to deal with the problems. I only want to have the car I want, and I don't want to be locked in for a long time. We'll meet the customers where they are. So it starts off with picking your right car. You pick a driving plan, then
Yeah.
you pick your coverage plan, and then you just pick when you want to schedule the pickup, and we get it to you. We can even deliver it to your house if that's your choice.
So it's not going through a traditional dealership model. You're not working to traditional dealers at all.
No, we don't. We have our hubs where you can pick up the car if you choose that option. Is it looks a lot like a dealership. It'll have hundreds of cars there, but we don't work through a traditional dealer like an OEM would.
Oh, okay. So basically, you're buying kind of like a car, kind of like Carvana would do, or pick your other company. Amazon Auto is another one that seems to be big right now. And you're saying, hey, like I don't want the hassle of going in and negotiating. I want to just buy the vehicle the way I want to buy it and then switch it, versus
Yeah,
going
all of
through
that is done
a two-centric
online.
model.
So yeah, when you go onto the app or when you go onto the website, you pick the car, the plan, and by the time you check out, you know exactly what your monthly plan is going to be. And so you know what your payment will be every single month. So by the time you check out, you know exactly what to plan for financially. And then all that's left is just going to get the car. We do an introduction, show you the car, ensure that everything is where you know, make sure that you're familiar with the car, you know how to the entry level where the buttons are
Yeah.
and how to get your Android Auto or your Apple CarPlay hooked up, and then it's yours. And you could keep that specific car for a month. You can keep it for a year, and whenever you're ready for the next one, if you have a baby or if you change jobs or move across the country, all of those things are flexible with us with our company. But it's a little different than buying a car because the traditional dealer, you're not going to the lot and then picking, you know, going through that experience. You're finding it online, a little bit more like a Carvana, like you said, and
Yeah.
then going through the process, which is much easier, much quicker. And there's not the the weight over your head, if you want to call it that, that I'm now getting into a marriage with this car for the next, you know, 3 to 15 years. Uh, you don't have to make that kind of a lifestyle choice at that moment.
So not 96-month financing, never going to own it.
Yeah, none of that. Yeah.
And what about like with the traditional lease? Generally, they have like a security. They're doing something in terms of lease end value. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, there's no money down. There's no hidden fees like that. There, when you what you see is what you get. So there's a membership fee as long as you, and that's a $250 a year, and that's it. So as long as you have the membership fee, there's no down payment. No, there's nothing else that you would have to pay that's like the down payment in a traditional lease. And then the other thing, Ian, is the cars themselves you can get new and used cars. So it's not just brand new cars that we're talking about here. You could have anything. Our fleet right now, we have cars as old as 2020, but most of them are within the last couple of years. And then we have brand new cars as well, of course.
So what if the customer wants to buy the car outright? Can they do that?
Right now, we don't offer them a buyout at the end of the whatever. If they wanted to buy it, right now we don't offer them that option. It's because our model is works much better if you're flexing in, flexing out of the car. So what we want to do is keep the fleet accessible to everybody and ensure that now you do you know you want to get out of a Camry. We want to make sure that that Camry now is accessible to somebody else. That's how the model is working for us.
And what about like a business who has like a small fleet of vehicles, or like a company that maybe needs some commercial vehicles? Do you work with that at all? Or
Yeah, that's great. That kind of B2B relationship, those are great as well. And they work really well for that company because we maintain the vehicles and ensure that the insurance and the maintenance is all covered by us as well as the roadside assistance. So takes all that headache off of their employees, their minds, and they don't have to deal with it as much at all. So yeah, that works really well for companies like that. If that the companies want to choose Flexcar as an option for their employees. And we can do this multiple different ways too. We could provide the fleet like it sounds like you were suggesting, or
yeah,
make it an offer with a discount through Flexcar because they're a part of that company. All of those things are pretty easy for us to do with Flexcar.
yeah. I mean, I'm going back 2 years ago, and I was working with a General Motors store, and they did some stuff in the oil patch where they had like short-term
Yeah.
rental vehicles. Essentially, they were basically a short-term lease model, but that was basically the idea. And these were commercial vehicles, so, or sort of commercial like vehicles. So essentially, it would be for a short term, and then they would flip that fleet, and there was some movement between the two. So that was why the question. But also, if I'm a small company, maybe I have a field sales force or something like that, or there's companies that come to mind like Nurse Next Door that probably could benefit from that, being that they're, or like these home what are they, home cleaning services are another one that comes to mind, where they're doing a bunch of have a bunch of vehicles on the street that they're using, but they may not need that vehicle for 10 years or may not want that vehicle for 10 years for obvious reasons.
Sure. I mean, traveling nurses, the military, these things all lend themselves very well to a model like ours. And that's not just it, that it's not just those groups. I mean, myself personally, I am a customer of Flexcar. I love it. And what I do is seasonal. I have a car for the summer and I have a car for the winter, just because in the winter I want four-wheel drive and in the summer it doesn't matter to me. And so I choose something a little bit more fun in the summer, and in the winter make sure I have an SUV with four-wheel drive. So it's the flexibility is really makes it so like you're doing right now. You're saying, I know this group could use that. And what we found is that person after person, group after group have, when they start to understand the model, they do exactly what we're doing. They're saying, well, I could use that and have it meet my life's demands or my situational demands much better than a traditional lease or purchase.
And what about maintenance? Is that something they do at the local dealer, or how does that work?
We have a hub, so we do the maintenance in-house. So you'll schedule an appointment with us just like you would with a dealership, and then we'll take care of the car and then get it back to you. Usually while you're there in the hub, for easy tires, oil, things like that. And then we ask you to. A lot of times we'll ask just to make sure that the car is okay. We'll ask you to bring it in for an appointment in 6 months just to make sure that that car is it's basically safe for you. So you as the customer are getting the best experience. We don't want you to be on the side of the road, something to happen, heaven forbid, while you're in the car. So we try to proactively maintain the cars as well. Not try, we do.
Yeah. And where are the hubs located? Like where would people go?
Right. Great question. Right now we're in Boston, Atlanta, Charlotte, and Nashville, and expanding rapidly. So many, many more to come. We've spent the last few years building this model where it's working for the customer, working for as a business itself, and now we're starting to get into the expansion mode. So a lot more locations soon to be announced.
And where would people find out more about FlexiCar?
So Flexcar is on, yeah, number one is the website, flexcar.com. That's the
Details
best
below.
starting point. Yep. So flexcar.com is the starting point. Go through the homepage, like understand there's a 75-second video that captures everything you need to know about it in a very uh, like a quick way that is easy to understand. Then after you understand it, just go into the inventory, browse that, see what kind of cars we have, how close they are to your location, whether you could do a delivery, pickup. We have multiple nodes where you can pick up, get the car delivered as well. So if it's not convenient for you to come to our hub, we'll either drop it off for you. You can pick it up at a different location, and then that's easy. Then that's it. Like then get into the car and start experiencing it. And that's the great thing too, Ian, is once you start experiencing it for the first 60 days, you'll understand it, how it will fit with your life better than we will, and then you'll be able to say, I see now how the pricing works, how the miles work in a very practical, personal way. And now I think what would be better for me is to go from this Chevy Malibu into a Ford F-150, because that's what I have the accessibility to be able to do that right now.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk about FlexCar, not FlexiCar, flexcar.com. If you are looking for an alternative way to own a vehicle or to have use of a vehicle without having the upfront costs or the long-term marriage commitment, to quote your verbiage, it's a great way to do that. And obviously, as you're looking at different ways to buy a vehicle, it's a way to maybe do it on your terms, on your schedule versus the dealers. Thanks for the time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
And
Ian.
have
Appreciate it.
yourself a great weekend.